Let's be honest. Have you ever felt completely and totally unqualified for something? You know that feeling, right? That you're just too broken, maybe too messy, or you failed one too many times to be used for anything significant? Well, today we're going to dive into a powerful story that just flips that entire idea on its head. It reveals how true authority and commission are often given, not to the perfect, but to the completely unworthy. And to really get this, we're going to start in a pretty unexpected place. Not ancient Jerusalem, but a 19th century concert hall, with a musician who was an absolute legend. You'll see, this story perfectly sets the stage for everything we're about to unpack. So, picture this. The great Niccolò Paganini is on stage, deep into a performance, and then snap, a violin string breaks. Then another, and another. You can just imagine the audience, right? Whispering, shifting in their seats. I mean, surely the concert's over. With every single snap, the instrument becomes more and more broken, totally unfit for the stage. But Paganini, he doesn't stop. He plays the entire rest of the piece on the one single string that's left. And that is the absolute key. The power was never in the violin itself, it was in the master who held it. The awe, the magic in that room, it didn't come from a flawless instrument. It came from the sovereign authority of the musician who could pull breathtaking music out of something so completely broken. And this is a perfect illustration of Jesus' disciples. I mean, after the crucifixion, they were that broken violin. The strings of their faith, their courage, their loyalty, they had all snapped. By any worldly measure, they were totally unfit to be used, absolutely unfit to be sent out. And to really understand just how broken they were, we need to take a closer look. So how bad was it really? Before we can appreciate the comeback, we have to get a handle on just how deep the failure was. And it's Jesus himself who gives a really short diagnosis of their condition. Okay, so when the resurrected Jesus finally appears to the 11 disciples, you might think his first move is a big group hug, right? Some comfort in words? Nope, it's a rebuke, a sharp one. He confronts them head on for their unbelief and, specifically, for their hardness of heart. This isn't just a gentle little correction. It's like a surgeon's scalpel getting right to the very core of the problem. Now, that term he uses, hardness of heart, is so crucial. In the original Greek, the word is sclerocardia, and it doesn't just mean you have some intellectual doubts. It describes a heart that has become like a stone. It's hardened, it's calloused, and it's just plain unable to receive or believe the truth of what God is doing, even when the evidence is staring you right in the face. And believe me, they had plenty of evidence. They heard the incredible testimony from Mary Magdalene and the other women, and didn't believe it. They heard the detailed report from the 2 disciples who walked with Jesus on the road to Emmaus, and they still didn't believe. Why? Because their hearts were just hardened by their own shattered expectations. They wanted a political king, a military hero, and the cross just blew that whole picture to bits. Their despair was so thick, it basically made them deaf to everything they had ever been taught. So let's just pause right there. What we have is a group of men who have completely failed in their faith. They resisted solid evidence, and they're hiding out in fear. I mean, they are the very definition of disqualified. By any logical, worldly standard, they should be fired. So, what does Jesus do next? And this is where the story just takes a shocking, incredible turn. Instead of dismissing them, instead of firing them, Jesus gives them the single most important mission in the history of the world. Right after calling them out for their hard-hearted unbelief, he hits them with this command. The contrast is absolutely stunning. He doesn't say, "Okay, guys, go take a remedial course on Faith 101. No, he says, "Go into all the world." This is the Great Commission, and it was given not to a team of spiritual all-stars, but to a group of epic failures. And this just rips the curtain back on a fundamental truth of the gospel. The mission's success doesn't hang on the qualifications or the worthiness of the messenger. Not at all. It depends entirely on the authority and the sovereign choice of the king who sends them. It's that old saying, right? God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. And you know, this isn't a new strategy for God. I mean, think about it. Who did he call to be his spokesperson to the most powerful king on earth? Moses, a guy with a speech impediment. Who did he choose to face a 9-foot-tall giant and lead a nation? David, a shepherd boy. And right here, he commissions these faithless, broken men to carry his message to the ends of the earth. The pattern is crystal clear. God's power shows up best in our weakness. Okay, so you have to be asking, how is this impossible mission even possible? Well, Jesus doesn't just give them a command and walk away. He also gives them a promise of power. But it's so important that we understand what this power is actually for. So Jesus promises that these incredible signs are going to follow them. Casting out demons, speaking in new languages, miraculous healings, divine protection. I mean, it's easy to get totally fixated on these spectacular displays of power. But if we do that, we're actually missing the entire point. See, the Greek word for sign here is semeion. And this is so important to get. A semeion is not a magic trick performed for its own sake. It's a signpost. Its only job is to point to something bigger, something else, a greater reality. And in this case, every single sign is meant to be a giant, flashing arrow pointing directly to the authority and the real-time presence of the resurrected King, Jesus. So this clears everything up. There's a proper order to things. The signs exist to serve and confirm the message of the gospel. The message always comes first. The signs are the backup singers. The moment we start chasing after the signs themselves, we've got it completely backward. We've turned the signpost into the destination. The power is there to validate the word, never to replace it. And that brings us to the final, and honestly the most powerful piece of this entire puzzle. Where does the real, sustainable, world-changing power for this mission actually come from? Well, the answer is found in where Jesus goes next. See, the ascension isn't Jesus leaving the building. It's an enthronement. It's a coronation. Sitting down at the right hand of God is the ultimate language of cosmic authority and rule. He's not abandoning his team on the field. He's moving into the command center of the universe to direct the entire mission from the throne. And this final verse of Mark's gospel, it has the secret ingredient. The disciples went out and preached, while the Lord worked with them. That right there is the ultimate partnership. They weren't just working for a distant king, they were working with a present and active one. The Greek word for worked with here is synergoniantos. Sound familiar? It's where we get our English word synergy. It literally means to work together, to cooperate, to be a partner in an action. This isn't the disciples doing all the heavy lifting for God. No, this is God getting his work done through and with his people. They are the instruments on earth, and he is the master musician in heaven, working in perfect sync. So let's bring it all home. The power for the mission, the power for our lives, the power for anything God calls us to do, it never ever comes from our own qualifications or our own readiness or our strength. It flows from the ascended King who sits on the throne and is actively working with us right here and right now. Our inadequacy, our brokenness, it's actually the whole point because it makes room for his all-sufficient power to show up. So this leaves all of us with a really tough, challenging question to think about. That feeling of being unqualified or unworthy that we all get, what's really behind it? Is it genuine humility that causes us to lean more on God's power, or is it just a convenient excuse, a shield we hide behind to avoid the risk of obeying the King who has promised to work right alongside us? That's a question worth sitting with for a while.